We use AI to tell you exactly what to do, and we've got all the latest technology there. So people come in, they spend a tiny amount of time, and it changes their biology. I used to weigh 300 pounds. And when I was 23, I had 300 pounds. I also had really bad brain fog, but I had an amazing career in Silicon Valley. So I made $6 million when I was 26. The reason that I don't do it is I don't believe consciousness lives in the body. These are ancient bacteria that merged with our cells probably 2 billion years ago, and they've been in charge ever since. When I was 26 and overweight, I went to an anti-aging doctor. There weren't a lot of them back then, and I had my hormones tested. He'd also tested my mom. And he said, Dave, I have bad news. Your testosterone is lower than your mother's.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Law of Attraction Secrets podcast. I'm here today with such an amazing human. He is the pioneer for biohacking. He's somebody who has trailblazed a way for self-development, self-improvement, getting your biological age down. He's just an awesome rock star. He's someone that I'm so excited to introduce to you. If you're listening today, you're going to love it. You'll definitely know his book from 2016, which really led the way for biohacking. You will know who I'm talking about when I bring him on the show today. I can't wait to dive into all things around biohacking, bringing your biological or the other age down to make yourself younger, helping yourself to improve your genetics. Yes, it is possible, and all things manifestation, and probably a whole heap of other stuff. Welcome to the show, Dave Asprey.
I'm so happy to be here.
Thank you so much for coming. So, okay, we want to start with the obvious, biohacking. You really have led this industry. Like, if you look at the way that it's gone, there's been so many people who have created things since you. You put something out in the world, show people what is possible with the body. But, like, how did you even find out about what biohacking is?
Well, I used to weigh 300 pounds. And when I was 23, I had 300 pounds. I also had really bad brain fog, but I had an amazing career in Silicon Valley. So I made $6 million when I was 26, and I lost it when I was 28. I had arthritis before I was 30, high risk of stroke and heart attack, fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue, every bad thing you're supposed to get when you're in your 60s, 70s, 80s, I had. And I was desperate, and the doctors couldn't help. So I did all the stuff you're supposed to do, didn't work. So I said, I'm going to try the stuff that shouldn't work. Meanwhile, I am a computer hacker. So I said, I'm just going to have to hack this. And I started learning from people in their 70s who had more energy than I did. And I ended up running one of the first longevity anti-aging research and education groups near Stanford University. I did that for more than 10 years. So I learned from people in their 80s, and I realized what they could do. I used that to get my energy back as a young man. And when I got my energy back, I lost the weight. I'm like, why would I stop? And then I needed a name because no one my age was interested in aging. That's for older people. So I went to Tibet to learn meditation from the masters. I'm in Mount Kailash, which is the holiest mountain in the world. It takes 5 days in a 4-wheel drive to get there. And you're supposed to walk around this mountain. It's 26 miles, 18,000 feet, 10 degrees below zero. And I'm feeling wrecked. And this little Tibetan woman gives me a bowl of yak butter tea. And I drank it. I'm like, I got my brain back. What is going on? This shouldn't even be possible, especially at that altitude. I came back to Silicon Valley, and I started putting butter in tea, and it tasted bad and it didn't work. So I tried 25 butters, and I found grass-fed butter works. And then I tried coffee versus tea. Most coffee makes me tweak, and I realized I could make mold-free coffee because mold in coffee really messes with our brains, especially in the US where there's no regulations. And on that same trip, I was just meditating going, how do I get young people like me to understand the power that we have?
Yeah.
And it wasn't about longevity. It was about biohacking. I made up the word and I launched the movement. I wrote the first definition and my name is in the dictionary. In 2018, they added it to the English language. Yeah, so I started the biohacking movement. I started the first conference, still running today, called the Biohacking Conference. And we had 100 guys in a bar. It wasn't all guys, but it was mostly guys back then. Now it's about 60% women are biohackers.
Gosh, I'm like blown away. Wait, so you are the reason that
Yeah,
biohacking's in the
I
dictionary?
started the biohacking movement.
And I'm English, so like the dictionary is from the UK.
Right.
Oh my God, you had a word added to the dictionary?
Yeah. Merriam-Webster's, you go online, I'm there in the definition.
Yo, that's a big achievement. I want to have Natasha Graziano added to a dictionary. I feel
I
like,
couldn't believe it. Yeah.
gosh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So, wow. So you got your energy back. So then
Mhm.
that leads me into, you talked about coffee for a minute. You're
Yep.
the founder of Bulletproof Coffee.
I'm the founder of Bulletproof, but I've left the company, and my new coffee company is called Danger Coffee. It's danger because who knows what you might do. It's got a bunch of trace minerals in it. So you drink the coffee, it hits you different, and it tastes amazing. So people are drinking Danger Coffee black and saying, I don't need sugar, I don't need milk, I don't even need butter in it. And coffee is one of those things that it's the original superfood, let's face it.
Okay, so with coffee, I have to have decaf. Like I'm allergic to
Mhm.
caffeine. Can I have a decaf version of it?
Yes.
You do a decaf version?
And it's clean decaf. Most decaf is the worst quality beans, and you drink it and you
Yes.
still feel weird.
Yep.
Not with Danger Coffee.
Okay, we need to make sure we get me some Danger Coffee.
All
I'm
right.
going to be drinking it on here next time.
Oh yeah, I'll
That
send you
is
some.
so cool. Well, the fact that you have a good decaf, because I look for them everywhere. I'm like, how do I have a decaf? And so many more people are turning to decaf and don't have a good one to go to because they're just made of shit.
What we do is we take the worst beans on earth and decaffeinate those. That's the whole coffee industry. I'm like, how about I take the best beans on earth and I decaffeinate those? So it's way better.
How do you decaffeinate? You use.
You have to take coffee, but why would you ruin good coffee by decaffeinating it? So they always take the moldiest, nastiest coffee, and then it still tastes like coffee, but you drink it, you don't even get the caffeine, but you get all the toxins from coffee. So I just make coffee with far fewer toxins, and we have a bunch of trace minerals in it. That's why Danger Coffee is such a thing.
So you actually feel better in your day. It has minerals,
Okay.
which, okay, going into the mineral thing,
Okay.
I love it. Like I am obsessed. I do my blood work every few months.
Love it. You're a biohacker.
Oh, I'm a biohacker, baby. I love it. So I'm all about it. I love the supplements every
Mhm.
single day. People watch me and I like pop 36 pills. Like,
Rock
oh
on.
yeah,
Look at you.
I go like morning, lunch, evening, one before bed. I'm on like, so many different things. They're like, what are you taking? I'm like, honestly, there's no point in me telling you what I'm taking because it's subjective. Oops, sorry. It's all subjective. I'm taking
Yeah.
stuff for me. It's perfect for my blood. So I'm like, what?
Wow.
Yeah, I get it.
Thank you for saying that. I do 150 a day. And people have offered me a lot of money to tell them what I take. I'm like, no, it's stupid.
Yeah.
If you take what I take, you're not a 6'4", 7% body fat guy with autoimmunity who used to weigh 300 pounds. And if you try to take that, it's not going to work. So I teach people, here's what to take to get that result.
Yes.
And plus, you and I might have different goals. Like you might want to be the smartest person on earth, so you're taking a bunch of nootropics. And maybe I'm just worried about my abs, so I'm taking things that burn fat. So maybe we should figure out who are you and what are your goals, and then map out the best thing to do. You can do that with supplements, or you can do it with biohacking technologies. We're opening dozens of locations of my company called Upgrade Labs across the country. It's a franchise.
Okay.
And what we do there is we measure your biology,
Yeah.
and then we say, okay, now we know where you are. Where do you want to go? Do you want to be someone who handles stress better? Do you want to be smarter? Do you want to be thinner? Do you want your energy back? Do you want more muscle? Do you want to get lean? Do you want endurance? And based on that, we use AI to tell you exactly what to do. And we've got all the latest technology there. So people come in, they spend a tiny amount of time, and it changes their biology. And that's the very definition of biohacking.
That is exactly what I need to do. And I've heard about your clinics, your places.
Yeah.
I need to go in because I want to go further with it, right? I also have autoimmune in my blood. I had autoimmune disease 5 years ago. And I look after my anti-inflammatory side like you
Just
get
like
it,
me.
so I can't eat anything inflammatory. I have to avoid it like the plague. So I'm
But
not
it's
making-
working. I mean, like, look at your skin
Oh,
and stuff.
bless you. Well,
Imagine
this is a bad day. Usually it's like even more glowy. I was like, why on the day I'm filming?
But if you ate all the bad stuff, like
Yeah.
the next day, you would not look and feel like yourself, right?
No.
How many people listening, they're sitting there, I want to meditate, I'm so stressed. I'm like, did you look at your last meal? Because that's why you're stressed.
Is that what it comes from?
Well, inflammation in the brain, of course you're not going to feel good.
Let's go there for inflammation. So inflammation, for anybody who's wondering, is the reason that disease happens in the body. It's
Yes.
the reason for most autoimmune, if not all autoimmune. And then people will say, is it genetic? Let's just answer that before we even go into it. Is it hereditary? Is it genetic?
Yes and no. Inflammation is something that you can tend to have genetically, but you usually won't have it if you know what's compatible with your body. So someone may be able to eat beans and rice and feel good and look good. But most people, that doesn't work for them and it causes inflammation. So there's some tendencies there. And if, like me, and probably like you have things that make it hard to process certain kinds of B vitamins. So what I do in my work is I'm like, look, everyone can handle this kind of B vitamin. They're called methylated B vitamins.
Yep.
So then you take those and everyone works. But if you don't know that and you're taking a cheap supplement, it actually makes you worse. Right? So the thing that's going to unlock your biology so that you make energy instead of love handles, that's different for different people. So it's not genetic, but we can probably tell some things that are more likely to work for you. It's lifestyle that causes inflammation.
So lifestyle being high stress, bad food choices, things like that.
You know, high stress isn't what people think it is.
Really?
A lot of the stress that we feel is because our body doesn't have what it needs to make energy. So your body has all these invisible things it does. I call it the body's operating system or your meat operating system. And okay, what do you mean operating system? That means it's stuff we don't pay attention to. Like we don't have something conscious to say, I'm going to open a valve in my stomach and make stomach acid, but some part of your body does that, right?
Yeah.
So it's constantly scanning the environment, not your brain, but your body, trying to figure out, am I safe right now? And if it's sitting there going, I don't have enough energy because you're on a low calorie diet, you're going to feel stressed. If it says, I don't have enough minerals because the plant foods a lot of us are eating, they're taking minerals out of our body. So your body says, I'm in a constant state of malnourishment and I don't have enough energy and I'm working out all the time and my boss is yelling at me. You're stressed, but was it your boss yelling at you? If you had your energy and your power back, your boss yelling at you, you'd be like, could you shut up? Because that's not cool, right? And it wouldn't hit you the way it hits you. So when your body is in a state of weakness, because you're making mistakes, even well-intentioned mistakes, you don't have the energy it takes. If you're so tired like I was with chronic fatigue, getting up off the couch, you're like, I just don't want to do that. It feels like work. But when you're full of energy, Mount Everest isn't this tall, it's only this tall.
Yes.
And everything looks like Everest when your body doesn't work. So we start with restoring and nourishing and replenishing the body and focusing on recovery as much as we do on exercise. And when you do that, you get your energy back. And then all of a sudden, you're not stressed.
Wow, that's so beautifully put because stress always freaks me out. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
my grandma, died of a heart attack. And I look in the family and I'm like, am I set for that? Is
No.
that like, so it's not something that's necessarily passed
No.
down.
One of the things that I've done, I used to be really stressed all the time. And I've had the high pressure career and all that kind of stuff. I still have, 6 companies right now. So I thought, all right, I've got to get on top of this. So I did the work on my body to get my energy back. And once I did that, though, I'm still stressed. And I said, all right, I've got to get inside my brain. So I learned meditation from the masters. I went to Peru. I did plant medicine in 1999. I went down there. They said, you're white. I said, yeah, I noticed. But like, this is only for local people. I said, I've done my research. I'm here. I'm looking for a shaman. And I connected with one. And now it's a tourist industry and like everyone does it, I think, in harmful ways. But
Yeah, it's completely different to what I think it was once.
Yeah.
I've never done it, but yeah.
yeah, I don't recommend it for people. It's like the last drug you
Yeah, I
should
don't.
consider.
So
So, but I went on all these spiritual journeys, but I realized I could spend my whole life trying to do this and I might get somewhere. I don't have time. I have stuff to do. So I started doing neuroscience. And I run a company called 40 Years of Zen. And we can replace 20 to 40 years of daily meditation with 5 intense days with a computer hooked up to your brain, showing you the states of the masters. And I've done 6 months of my life with electrodes on my brain. So my stress response, I can handle 100 times more stress than I did before, and I don't lose it here.
Gosh, this is
It's
amazing.
possible.
So does everybody need to get hooked up to a electrode to get to that state?
I don't know if you need to. You can do the things that are free. They just take longer. You can meditate for a couple hours a day. You can do breath work every weekend. You can do the things I've talked about for years, and cold plunges and things. Those all help. I do those things. Actually, I don't meditate every day. I don't have time for that. But I use computers when I do it, so I get years of meditation instead of
And you
just
do
an
that
hour.
in your clinics?
We do that at Upgrade Labs.
So you can go and sit. Okay, I'm totally taking a trip there. And if I do it in time before that, well, I'll have to do it as like a separate episode. I'll do like Natasha then took part 2 to go and do. That's
Yeah.
quite a fun day.
We do it in 20-minute sections at Upgrade Labs. They're just little tastes to
And
get you a boost.
sit with it on your
We
head.
actually glue electrodes to your brain. You can't do it with the cool looking things that just sit on your brain.
Yeah.
They don't get a good signal. We're getting medical grade signals off your brain. We're showing your brain what it's doing. So imagine if I was going to try to teach you to meditate. I know you already know how, and I was, okay, sit here, now meditate, and you would try to do it. And maybe you'd get it, maybe you wouldn't. And if I was really watching and I could read your energy field, I'm like, there, you got it. But if I was trying to teach 20 people and you got there and I was over there, you'd never get the feedback. When you're doing it with the tech from Upgrade Labs, 1,000 times a second we're measuring you. And as soon as you do it wrong, the sounds get quieter. As soon as you do it right, the sounds get louder. So pretty soon you're going, I made the sounds loud and my heart opened. And I feel so different. And now you know the state.
Wow, this is so powerful.
Yeah.
So for somebody like you then, and probably me who's like an advanced meditator, if we go onto that machine and we learn it a couple of times, surely we can take that same imprint on the muscle memory into our own home and do it again.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, this is so powerful.
So I teach CEOs, celebrities, pro athletes. It's something that's called like loving kindness or open heart meditation. And what's happening with that is really, really deep gratitude and forgiveness. But the reason you do that isn't to like forgive someone who was mean to you. It's that you're turning off your body's operating system. It will be reactive. So if someone was mean to you, the next time someone walks in a room that has the same vibe, you will immediately get stressed. And we can measure you getting stressed. You didn't decide it. You didn't even think of it. You forgot about the thing, but your body doesn't forget. So we go in and we teach you how to do this at a deep level so that your body doesn't do that anymore. So the things that usually would trigger me, none of them triggers me anymore. And it's because I went through and I did the reset process on all of those. Everyone can do this. So if you're sitting here going, I already feel triggered, if you feel triggered, it's because you're carrying a loaded gun. You need to unload it. Instead of telling people, don't trigger me, don't trigger me. Well, dude, stop being armed all the time.
No, I agree. When people say, like, we want, like, you know, when you're dating and then people are like, oh, that's a trigger for me. Well, sweetie, fix yourself. What do you mean? It's a fucking trigger. You have to do the work on yourself. I even say to people, I will not date you until you've done the work on yourself.
Hallelujah.
Like, I'm like, go work on yourself, fix who you are, do all the stuff that makes you feel good, and now show me what you're eating and what you're putting in your body.
Exactly.
Because I'm also going to bed early. Like, I look after myself. So who we date is like, you want to be in alignment. It's the same thing. Otherwise, you literally go back years, I feel, when it comes to that stuff. Anyway, a separate topic. But, you know, I tell people.
It doesn't make a lot of sense because if everyone has to change their behavior for my triggers, I'm triggered when you don't give me money, so give me all your money. Like, we would all be like, screw you, right? But we can't live in that world. So what I would do is I'd get triggered, but because I'm an adult, I would say, okay, I'm feeling stressed right now, but I'm going to behave myself. So I'm sitting in a board meeting and some VC's trying to, steal money or whatever. And you're like, okay, I'm triggered. And then you like get enraged. And if you haven't done your work, you like start shaking and you have to leave the room, or you tell them to go screw themselves and things go sideways. Or you do your work and you sit there and you smile, but you're still enraged. Or you do the work so you're not enraged and you're just aware. Oh, that person's trying to take money or do something unethical. I'm not going to let it happen. But it doesn't cost you. And you can go home and you can play with your kids. You can hang out with your friends. You can do whatever you want to do. Someone cuts you off in traffic. It doesn't ruin your day.
No, it doesn't. And that's because you've done the work and the tools. Okay, so the things for inflammatory not only help you prevent disease and protect your body. Before we go into reversing age, what are the other things that can help you to live a stress-free life, that can help you to, like we're talking about meditation, we're talking about supplements for recovery as opposed to exercise. What other pointers are good for this?
Here's one that might trigger some people. Saturated fat, red meat, grass-fed butter. Your body needs those to make hormones.
Oh, it does.
And when you start eating canola and seed oil and all these plant oils, it's stressful for the body and it slows your metabolism. So when you eat these traditional foods we've eaten for thousands of years without harm, they actually cause you to relax because your body says, oh, I finally got what I needed. And then that allows you to make healthier cell membranes, and healthier cell membranes make more electricity. When your body can make more electricity, you can do more in the world.
Very interesting. So grass-fed grass-fed red meat.
And grass-fed butter. So instead of putting whatever salad dressing is there, literally, at least some olive oil would be good, but you need to cook your vegetables with butter. And you'll be so much more full, so much happier, and so much more calm. So it turns out these basic nutrients, also minerals. The reason they're in Danger Coffee is because minerals allow the body to do what it's trying to do. And when it can't do what it's trying to do, that's when it gets stressed.
I get it. Okay, but what about someone like me? I did all my food testing, which
Yeah.
I do every few months. I'm sure our area in our house for the it'd be like a
Mhm.
lab, same as you.
Yeah, same as me.
Love that. It's like a lab. Okay, so now I do my food testing, and then there's a whole load of things. And then it says I can't eat butter. What do I do?
Eat ghee.
So ghee is different.
Yeah, so butter has protein in it, but
Yeah.
ghee is clarified butter and it removes the protein. Almost everyone handles ghee.
Wow, that's so interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so ghee is something else to look at. Okay, fine. I'm going to go deeper into that. Okay, now let's go into some things on biohacking, because
Okay.
this is your absolute area of expertise. Is it possible for somebody to reverse their biological age by 10 years?
Well, I've already done that.
I mean, you're 39,
Yeah.
but can anybody do
Yeah,
it?
anyone can do it.
Can you reverse it 20?
Yes.
That's what you're going for?
No, I'm going as far as I can go. I'll get myself to be in my 20s.
See, now I have to say, when you first walked in, I was like, holy shit, he looks so young.
Oh,
Like
thank you.
your skin, you glow, like you practice what you preach. You are
I like to think it works.
a definition, of what you preach. So anyone who's listening and watching, this is real. It looks exactly how he is. You do look very refreshed. So, but hacking your biological age, where does it start? How do you do it? I've hacked mine, but I haven't gone so far yet. And why is it taking so long for me?
Well, how have you done your test, your DNA methylation test to see how old you are? True age, it's called.
Yes, I did one that bought. So I looked at my age, and it was only a few years younger than I am. I was kind of shocked. I was like,
A few years is not bad. Well, one of the things is you're already doing it. It's getting sleep, going to bed earlier, which is not natural for me, but you can do it. Eating earlier in the day, having late night meals really does make you older. Doing some intermittent fasting can make a huge difference in your age. And then I keep saying it, but cutting out seed oils,
yeah,
it's so important to do that.
canolas, sesame,
hmm
any of the seeds.
Any of the seed oils.
Okay.
And when you do that, all of a sudden your body gets healthier and it gets younger. The other thing you can do is you can take something called senolytics. Senolytics are compounds that cause your body to go in and find, I call them zombie cells, but the
Okay.
technical word is senescent cells, and eliminate them. So imagine they're really zombies. They're cells that didn't die,
Yeah.
but they stopped working and they just make inflammation. And
Oh.
if your body has all the things it needs and it gets a signal that says, oh, I'm in a safe place where I can actually get rid of these, it'll do it. But most of us, we eat all the time.
Yep.
And then we're stressed and we don't have the minerals that we need. So all of a sudden, the body says, I can't do it. But you can take compounds like quercetin and you do that while you're fasting. And then your body says, oh, let's get rid of the cells. So getting rid of zombie cells is one of the things that can make you substantially younger. It's not that hard to do. It's one of the 7 pillars of aging in my big book on aging.
Can we talk about that as well, the 7 pillars on
Sure.
aging? Because I think it's such a fascinating part of your book. For anybody that hasn't got it, there's a link below so you can get yourself a copy of this epic book. And then tag Dave in this episode. If you're enjoying this so far, make sure you go on there and just tag at Dave, at Natasha, and we will repost our faves. I'm sure
Oh,
you'll
absolutely.
do the same. We love to show the love. And if you guys are enjoying this, you could change somebody else's life for the better as well. So that's your duty for today. Okay, continue. So the 7 pillars on.
We also have things called cellular stiffening.
Yes.
When your cells get stiffer over time, and that's because they basically build up gunk on them. And in order to do that, you start doing detox processes. Even things like activated charcoal can make a difference. But one of the things that's causing this stiffening is you're getting really high spikes in blood sugar. So I'm not going to tell you to stop eating sugar, because I don't think sugar is particularly good for you. If your metabolism works fine, you can eat some sugar and your blood sugar won't spike. It's just that most of us have broken metabolisms. So I've actually added more sugar back into my diet. I prefer raw honey because it's better for you. But every now and then I'm not above some sugar, a sorbet or whatever. And I do that because otherwise I don't have enough body fat. And You don't want to be below about 7% as a man because it increases your risks of dying.
And you're 7%.
Yeah.
Jeez, you're like, don't go any further.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
super
you're
lean.
shred. Yeah,
Yeah.
like you want to keep it at that
Probably should have
point.
worn like a really tight t-shirt.
Yeah, I think you just see it in a white t-shirt. Oh my God. Okay, so that's a really big thing. So the sugar, not taking out the diet, whereas everybody's like, take it out.
You want to not eat sugar by itself. You always have protein from animals and fat before you have sugar. But if you want to have a small dessert, it's probably not going to make a difference. It might give you sugar cravings later, but again, once you get your metabolism working, you can have a little bit of that. What happens though is we have like donuts and we get bad seed oils and sugar at the same time, and that combination creates something called AGE, which is different than age. It stands for Advanced Glycation End Products. What that means is that it's browning your cells the way onions brown in a pan. High blood sugar does that and it causes aging. So what you want to do is wear a continuous glucose monitor. You've seen people with the little white circle. I've worn one for years. I don't wear them all the time because I already know what my body does. And what that'll do is it'll tell you, when I eat oatmeal, my blood sugar response is higher than ice cream. Maybe you shouldn't eat oatmeal anymore. In fact, you shouldn't. It's not a health food. So when you go through and you realize what's causing my blood sugar to spike and you start to minimize those spikes, and you always make sure you lead with animal protein. Plant protein doesn't work, I'm sorry. And then you make sure that there's some fat. Saturated fat is better. And at that point, you're already satisfied and a little bit of sugar isn't going to hurt you. In fact, it might help you sleep better.
Gosh, so interesting. Okay, so is that one of the big pillars?
One of the big pillars is that extracellular stiffening caused by advanced glycation end products. And then we have telomeres. Telomeres are like wicks on a candle. So they burn down over time. And when they're too short, well, your cells can't reproduce anymore. And it's one of the markers of aging. It's not easy to measure though. They'll measure your blood and say, oh, look, your age is this. They're all over the map. I've seen people get 2 blood tests 1 week apart with a 20-year range. So I don't trust blood telomeres, but we know every cell in your body has different telomeres. You can lengthen those with intermittent fasting, high intensity interval training, getting enough sleep, and with supplements or even with drugs.
Peptides?
There are peptides that can lengthen telomeres.
Like epitalon?
Epitalon is one of them.
I know I mentioned that earlier. I love that one.
Yeah.
And I took another one. I can't remember the name of it, but it was another one for it was for people who are like prone to autoimmune to help reverse that, to get away from it.
There's so many. I wonder which one that was.
Yeah, I'll have to get the name. Anyway, I don't know.
At this point, there's hundreds of peptides that you can use. And I'm like going through with little vials in my head trying to figure out which one you're talking about. But
yeah, I'd remember if I said it out loud. I just completely blanked on what I was taking.
But let's talk about what peptides are, because a lot of people don't know.
Someone's like, "What is a peptide?"
Yeah. All right. All proteins in your body are made out of some letters. Basically, they're amino acids.
Yeah.
But think of them as letters. So you put some letters together and you get a word. And then you put words together, you get a sentence. You put sentences together, you get a paragraph. So a paragraph is basically a piece of protein, like steak. It's got all the words in it. But when you start taking apart into individual words, each word, when you take that tiny arrangement of amino acids, it's a signal to your body. That's why when people say you have to get protein, it's dumb. What are the peptides in the protein? Because that tells your body what to do, which is different than just how much protein you can use to build muscle or whatever. So you can now buy hundreds of different peptides that will signal your body to do something, because it turns out your body uses peptides to talk to itself. So you're adding additional instructions into your body. You can take some peptides orally and you can inject some of them. Like I'm testing one right now called MK677, which lowers blood sugar. Not that I needed to lower mine, and it makes it a little bit leaner. Not that I need to be leaner, but I just wanted to see what it would do for my brain, right?
And how's that going? Is this the gene one you were talking about?
No, that's not the gene one. Those are peptides. The gene therapy is a whole nother thing. Wow. And we'll talk about gene therapy later, I think.
Yeah.
All right. So other pillars of aging are mitochondrial dysfunction. And this is my biggest thing because I had such low energy in my 20s and early 30s that I just had to fix it. Mitochondria are little parts of your cells, and their job is to turn air and food into electricity and body heat and sex hormones and a whole bunch of other stuff that your body needs. These are ancient bacteria that merged with our cells probably 2 billion years ago, and they've been in charge ever since. So the reason I like them so much is that if you're tired, well, you fix them and you're not tired anymore. But it turns out they're the part of your body that senses reality first, which means they're actually part of how you manifest reality.
Oh, manifesting. I love
Yeah.
that.
And we have this idea like the observer effect. People have heard of this, where nothing happens until someone sees it happening. It's a probability until you do it. There's a very old, famous double slit experiment we talk about in reality. And we say, well, when there's the observer effect, it causes something that could have happened to actually happen. It collapses a possibility into a reality. Well, you don't do that. Because at my neuroscience clinic, we can measure your brain. And about 1/3 of a second after something happens, your brain gets the first signal that it happened. That means your body is observing independently of you.
Whoa.
And the mitochondria in your body are the first line observers. So they are the first connection of you to reality. And if they're broken as you age, well, it's a major thing. So what if you fixed your mitochondria and you got younger, and at the same time, you got better at sensing reality and maybe even changing it?
Can you imagine a life where you effortlessly magnetize your dreams to you? Financial success, the love of your life, the family of your dreams, and everything you've ever dreamed of at your fingertips. With my approach to manifesting, I have a practical method where you use the power of your creative words. It's called scripting. We write in the past tense in a certain way to attract all our desires to us. I've done this. I met my husband in 3 weeks doing this. I helped myself heal twice. I helped myself get rid of a rash on my body. I have helped myself to elevate myself and get myself out there to so many people. I've changed my bank account number. I've added 2 zeros onto it. I have created abundance like I could never dream of. The most beautiful homes around the world. And you can do this too, like so many of my clients are currently doing right now. The success stories speak for themselves. I want to show you how to do it. This is for somebody who is ready, though. Don't even bother coming unless you are ready to transform your life. If you feel like, oh, I'm on the fence, I don't know, none of this shit really works, then baby, it doesn't work. It doesn't work for you. This works for somebody who says, I'm ready. I'm ready to try something else. Try using the power of my words. I want to learn in a curriculum. I want to be in a group with other like-minded individuals, and I want to win. This is for entrepreneurs who are ready to go to the next level, or maybe get out of corporate America and go to the entrepreneurship world. If you're ready, come and join us inside the Scripting Society, and I'll see you there.
Wow, that's so powerful. So your mitochondria is sensing. Is that why when we get like a gut feeling or like, oh my gosh, I have this like instinct, I can feel it with my body?
It's where it starts. It's the most foundational level. So a gut instinct is tied to a system called interoception. And most women are better than men automatically at feeling what's happening inside our bodies.
Which is why they say trust a woman, because when she has that feeling, it's like, yeah, she knows.
Exactly. And guys can develop that. It just takes a little bit more work. And the gut feeling happens in part because the mitochondria are the first line sensors, and they all vote with each other. And we even know how they vote now to decide what's going on. And then they send a signal, and then it hits your vagus nerve, and then it gets up into your body, and you sense it in your brain. But they're the very, very front line. So they're connected, and they're seeing things that we'll never see. If you imagine all the things your body's picking up right now that you don't pay attention to, it's because your brain couldn't handle reality. So your body's job is to throw away most of reality and only show you what you need to know to survive and have babies, because that's what Mother Nature wants you to do. So what we're doing when we meditate and when we practice longevity and biohacking is we're making our body stronger so that those little parts of our cells can do a better job of sensing reality and making electricity and making all the things they do that drives our biology. And yes, you will find that you become more intuitive, become more in tune. And it works better if you're fixing your body and you're meditating at the same time. But since part of aging is the mitochondria become weaker, they become worse at making electricity, it gets pretty interesting. As of today, 48% of people under age 40 have early onset mitochondrial dysfunction. That means half of us aren't making electricity the way we should. We're making inflammation.
Hence, we have less energy and problems.
And everyone over age 40, unless they're on a radical anti-aging program, has mitochondrial deficiency. We just call it aging.
So we actually shouldn't be aging.
No.
If we biohacked our lives correctly, we should be going backwards in age and living to 300.
Right now, my estimate is that I'm going to live to at least 180.
right now.
Yeah. And that may get bigger. In fact, I think it's going to get a lot bigger.
So you could potentially be the oldest person on the planet.
I hope I'm not the only one, but I'm willing to be.
Gosh, that's amazing. But has anybody lived past, what was the oldest person?
Methuselah lived 969 years.
What do we know what they did to maintain that?
Well, it turns out when you look at really ancient literature, there's a lot of people who live 200 years, 400 years,
Yeah, you see
600
a lot
years.
of this.
So maybe they were just lying, or maybe our stories of history are not very accurate. I think that they were not lying at all. And I think because that's what we see now, we just kind of believe it was always that way and that they were just stupid when they wrote all this down on that really expensive paper 1,000 years ago. The reality is that humans have lived that long. You look in India, there's actually a book published in the last 25 years about a guy who was 185 years old. And people always say, but that can't be, therefore it isn't. And what I've done as a biohacker is I've looked for the outliers, the things that aren't supposed to exist. And then you say, well, how did that happen? And that's where all the new knowledge happens. And we have this really toxic thing happening in academic research right now, where you can say something like, it's possible to reverse your age or to reverse cellular aging. 15 years ago, when I was doing all this anti-aging nonprofit work, if you said this in an academic institution, they would literally fire you. They would take away your tenure and you would lose your job. So you couldn't say it until a few people who were relatively brave said, actually, we did it. And here's so much evidence that we reversed aging in cells. We can talk about it now. And now we have billions of dollars flowing into anti-aging research, where instead of saying aging is inevitable, we're saying, what do we do to stop it? I'm actually working now on setting up a venture capital fund that'll be investing in radical longevity, because I know we can do it and I know the ways to do it. And there are so many people hidden in academic basements who are doing groundbreaking research that will never see the light of day, because what they're doing isn't supposed to be possible, yet they're doing it right now.
100%.
So we have to bring this reality together where people think something can happen, therefore it doesn't. And we change it to say, someone did it somewhere. How did they do it? Let's make it available for all of us.
Do you believe in freezing the body and it coming back to life?
No, I don't. And I have many
interesting.
friends
Yeah.
who do that.
And who have frozen their, or have signed up to freeze their body. And I know one who's passed and is frozen. And I'm like, what is going on?
So Aubrey de Grey is a famous anti-aging guy who's a friend, but we've been friends for many years. And he's done it. And actually, I think even Peter Diamandis, I believe, is another friend, has done it or has signed up for it. The reason that I don't do it is I don't believe consciousness lives in the body. In fact, I think it might even be harmful. So I have trained shamanically. I have traveled to the ends of the earth with the most esoteric gurus out there. I have seen my past lives. I've remembered my birth. And so I have no fear of death, because you just get to do it again and again and again until you figure out how to not do it again.
This is my favorite topic.
So I'm like, why would I freeze my body? I'm going to live as long as I choose to live, and I want to die at a time and by a method of my choice. And that's my goal. When I'm done, I'm done.
So how do you then die? So let's say you're going to live to 180 by your math that you've worked out, which I totally believe because I get it. But for someone who's like, yeah, whatever, how do you then choose to go to the next place? What's your, is it by natural causes at 180 or what happens?
Well, I'm saying at least 180. So at that point, here's whether that's reasonable. Today, there are people who are 120.
Yeah.
If that's our current best, you think we can do 50% better in the next 100 years of research?
Of course we can.
The amount of biological knowledge we have doubles every 73 days right now, and AI is making it faster. That's why your doctor can't keep up. No one can keep up. So we know so much more about the very underpinnings of life itself than we ever did. So of course that's going to result in people living longer. Maybe a comet will hit the planet, something like that would be a way. But let's say that I make it to 180 and I'm healthier and younger looking than I am now, right? So what do? Well, I say, do I want to continue? Or I say, I'm done. And if you're done, you're done. There's kind of two ways to do that. The advanced meditator way is you study the practices that are well documented in ancient literature on how to die by stepping out of your body. That's what the gurus do. And then there's the Viking way, which is you go to the family cliff and you jump off. It's your choice. It's my life. I'll do what I want.
Oh my gosh. But at least you don't die of any disease in the body. because
No.
you don't need to have that.
The only reason we would die of a disease is because we don't understand how stuff works. And we're understanding how stuff works twice as well every 73 days, and the window's getting shorter and shorter.
So at 180, let's say we're there now, we fast forward. Do you look like a 180-year-old, or do you look like Dave Asprey today in this body, but just a little bit older?
When I'm 180, I will look like Dave Asprey if I was healthy when I was 30.
No way.
Absolutely. When we have this picture in our mind of old people, they have thin skin.
Yeah.
Right? You can like see their organs through their skin, and they're hunched over, and they're wearing diapers and tubes and monitors and beeping. None of that is real. That's because we haven't done the repair work. We haven't done the maintenance work. We haven't done the things that we are learning how to do right now. And it's our job to make this accessible to everyone. You know why? Global fertility is plummeting right now. My first book was on fertility. It took 5 years to write. And how do you have healthier, smarter babies? Because that's really important. Since most of the Western world has birth rates far below replacement, we are going to have empty cities because literally it's just older people who can't care for themselves. So either we tell our young people, we're going to pay you huge amounts of money to have babies so society will continue, which you probably won't do, or, and besides, they probably wouldn't do it.
Yeah, it's probably going to happen anyway.
Or we just say, maybe when you're 60, you'll be wise and full of energy. Imagine if you had the wisdom of being 100 years old. And like, I finally learned how to not hire narcissists or date narcissists. And I've learned how to manage all of the things in my life that I want. And I'm curious, I'm having fun, and I go stay up late dancing when I want to, right? And I have the best sex of my life because I've had enough practice finally. All those things. But you have the energy you had when you were 30, and you have all that wisdom. That's the kind of world I want, because you know what you won't do in that world? You won't throw plastic in the ocean because you know you're going to be living long enough that you'll eat the plastic later. You have to take care of the planet.
Oh my God, this is so powerful. These pillars are just everything. This is how, so this is how you look this way. This is why you look your way. So I always say to people, without a why, there is no will. Without the will, there's no drive, momentum, which equals motivation. And motivation and momentum is like the same. You have to get going somehow. How are you going to get going? You need a why. So your why is to help longevity of the planet, of people, to look their best, to feel their best. And there's just so much more we can do every day for ourselves. Like everybody can do this.
Everyone
it's so
can.
Accessible through particularly the work that you're doing.
In my work, I always say, here's what the crazy billionaires do. And I go do all of that, like this gene therapy thing we talked about. But then there's things that cost $50 that take advantage of a principle. And then there's things that are free. So I always work my books out. Here's the free, here's the medium, and here's the crazy expensive.
And we've talked about a lot of the free today and the middle tier.
Yeah. So crazy expensive. 40 years of Zen. Spending 5 days with neuroscientists reprogramming your brain, that's not cheap, right? That's like $16,000. But it's a bargain for what it is. I've also done more stem cells, I think, than anyone else alive at this point.
And where'd you put them? Everywhere.
Every single joint in my body, face, hair, skin, reproductive system.
Is that how you lifted your leg over your head a minute ago, which we're going to have to insert if we have that clip? It was unbelievable. It was so flexible.
I used to actually not be able to touch my feet when I was fat.
Wait, so you've gone from basically being someone who was overweight, who couldn't touch his feet, to someone who looks 10 years younger, 20 years younger than his age now and can put his leg around his head.
I'm saying, if I can do this, anyone can do it, because I had the worst possible start you could have. And it's funny, people do massage or tissue work, and they're like, you have really young tissues. Like this is, it almost confounds them. Like, how is this possible? And it's what you eat, it's what you don't eat even more, it's how you sleep, and then the supplements. And the other thing I do, and I just have to give a shout out to testosterone. When I was 26 and overweight, I went to an anti-aging doctor. There weren't a lot of them back then, and I had my hormones tested. He'd also tested my mom. And he said, Dave, I have bad news. Your testosterone is lower than your mother's.
That's not good.
No.
That means you're going to turn into a girl if you want to.
I will show you my fat picture from when I was 23. I was in Entrepreneur Magazine for being the first person to sell anything over the internet before e-commerce had a name. I sold caffeine t-shirts out of my dorm room. They had this caffeine molecule on them.
I really love this tattoo. It's super cute.
So I'm like, well, that's my fat picture, but I kind of look like a lesbian.
Oh God, I can't believe your testosterone was that low. So what
Yeah.
did you do?
I started injecting testosterone.
You just knew at that age.
Well, my doctor knew. So I got a prescription and I take physiological levels to have my body at around, well, about 900 is where I feel best. It could be between 7 and 900. Right now, almost everyone under age 30 has half the testosterone that they would have had 30 years ago. This is because of plastic, because of BPA, because of pesticides. So right now, if you're not feeling motivated as a man or a woman, it's probably testosterone that's a part of the problem, because testosterone gives you desire. Yes, bedroom desire, but it gives you desire to do things that matter. And when your testosterone drops, nothing matters. And testosterone and dopamine go together. Dopamine is that thing we all hear about that motivates you.
Yeah.
So if you're low testosterone, you're low dopamine, and you just can't be bothered, and everything feels like it's insurmountable. So I've been on testosterone, monitoring my levels. I don't have crazy bodybuilder levels. I use bioidentical testosterone. Every man and woman over age 40 should test their levels and see what it is. And my new advice is that everyone between 20 and 40 should test their levels. And if it's half of what it should be, and you can't get a date, maybe you should fix your testosterone and get a date, and you'll like the date.
Wow, that's so interesting. The fact that it's down to that. Okay, wait, gene hacking therapy. I mean, so you said you did something really interesting.
Yeah, I just did. I'm about to release on my podcast, it's called The Human Upgrade, about to release an episode with all the details on it. But when I wrote my big longevity book, I talked about how the fact, actually, let's say that again. When I wrote my big longevity book, I talked about how different scientists around the planet are working on ways to change human genetics to make our bodies do what we want. I'm not opposed to that. I don't like when people change my genetics to do things I don't want, right? And we're not talking about that. And we're not talking about changing it permanently so your kids would inherit this. This is a temporary change to make you younger, make you stronger, make you faster. But no one was doing it on the planet. Well, I found a company that now, if you have to leave the US to do it, but they give you one single injection that tells your body for the next 2 years to make more of certain longevity compounds. And that, in the average person, takes 9 years off their measured biological age. So I should go down to being about 30 from that.
And you didn't feel weird when you took it?
No, it takes 5 seconds. It's a tiny little injection just in your side right here. And then you're done.
Kind of like a peptide?
Kind of like a peptide.
And it works with your genes. It's not like you're putting in a medicine in your body.
Well, it actually is genes. And those genes come to the local cells, they soak into the cells, and they cause the cells to secrete more of the compounds you need to stay young. And when you do that, you lose that age. People also get more dense bones. I probably won't. I have bones that you almost can't cut. Like I had bone surgery a while ago. They couldn't get through the bone because they were so dense. Because I take my minerals. I use my Danger Coffee, all that kind of stuff. In fact, the surgeon here in Beverly Hills, Dr. Ali Sadre, he's like, Dave, it's like, is this guy even human? Like, the bone saw is slowing down, trying to cut it. It was so cool. I'm like, all right, I'm the Wolverine.
Trying to cut your bones.
So I'm just like this is amazing. You can do all these things, but bone density, people lose about 1% body fat and they gain about 5 pounds of muscle with no change in exercise or diet from this one tiny injection. And this is the crazy billionaire level stuff. You know, it's gene therapy. But
can't wait to hear that episode on your podcast.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Is it safe? Yes, because if it doesn't work, you can take a compound that turns it off and it stops. So there's very, very low risk. This is cutting edge longevity. And the goal here is to be able to make this, well, approved in the US, but also to be able to make it so that we can do it at scale. And then it should cost maybe $500 or $1,000. And hundreds of millions of people could just lose 10 years.
We want to use 10 years. Okay, my final question about the law of attraction. Have you practiced it? Is it something that you naturally do? Because it sounds like you're very scientific. However, I keep hearing this feeling of like we manifest from our feeling, our body. I can feel that you are very in tune. You've been around all these esoteric people, etc. So, what's your belief on it?
Well, I'm actually a member of Jack Canfield's Transformational Leadership Council, which is a group of people who wrote The Secret. People are into that.
She's been on the show, Rhonda.
Oh, that's so
and
cool.
Pretty much all of the cast.
I love it.
Yeah.
There's absolute reality to meditation and manifestation. And people who say, well, that's not scientific. You can look at someone's brain waves when they're in the state of doing that, and they look a certain way. And I can take a meditation guru's brainwaves and I look at them like that's a meditating brain. That's a guru's brain, right? So Isn't that science? And you can look at things like Lynn McTaggart's work on the field. There's incontrovertible evidence that people who meditate or have a spiritual practice can do things that other people can't. There's literature going back in time called basically the Vedic practices. There's yogic siddhis, siddhi, S-I-D-D-H-I. These are yogic powers, and there's 40 something of them that are well documented, including crazy stuff like knowing what someone else is thinking, things like spontaneously healing. And they talk about how to get there. And some of the writings about this are 13th century manuscripts that are out there. So we've been doing this for thousands of years as humans. It's nothing new, and it is scientific. The fact that there are scientists out there with huge egos saying, that's impossible, therefore you can't do it, isn't that the stupidest thing you've ever heard of?
Mhm.
That's impossible, so you can't? That doesn't even make sense. What's going on is they don't like it that you can do that. And if that doesn't work, here's the scientist version of the law of attraction. It's called the placebo effect. Big Pharma acknowledges, well, if you just believe you're taking a pill, it'll just heal you. Isn't that the law of attraction?
That is the law of attraction.
Well, science just acknowledged that by saying placebos exist. So of course we do that. It's because there's an immense reality around you that you can't see until you program yourself to be able to see the reality. And part of that is having hardware, the meat in your body. It has to work so that you can do that. And
That's through all the things we've spoken about
through
today.
Food, through sleep, through movement, and doing it consciously and doing it correctly. And you have big bad food companies right now that are on a campaign to tell you to eat exactly the foods that lower your testosterone, that make you tired, that shut down your pineal gland, that shut down your thyroid, so you're kind of a sleeping zombie. Because, well, you're a much better consumer that way. So I am not a consumer, I'm a creator.
Just my final thing, I already went there, but what does your average day look like? You wake up, you meditate, you cope. What's that brief version of the day?
I wake up, I hang upside down like a bat for 20 minutes.
Wow. Oh no, that wouldn't have blown my mind. Like that wouldn't have been that weird. Like I do other weird shit. Like that, I thought you genuinely hung upside down like a bat. That would have been really cool. We would pretend that you do that.
There are people out there who have really bizarre practices, and some people will think mine are. But I wake up, and I don't wake up at 5 a.m. because it turns out that sucks.
Oh, it does suck. I don't wake up at 5 a.m. I wake up naturally without an alarm.
Yeah. I went for 2 years waking up at 5 a.m. because I heard the early bird catches the worm. All it did was make me tired.
Me too.
It's not good. But seeing sunrise is really good for you. So when I wake up, I live in Austin, I have tall fences. I go outside in the backyard naked because I need to get sunshine.
Love it.
And I have a cold plunge. Absolutely.
I've heard about this. It's really good for you. I go outside naked as well, and I'm like, watch the sun. It's the first 15 minutes, isn't it?
The first 15 minutes. So earlier is better. That sets your sleep later that day. I get in my cold plunge because I don't have cryotherapy at home because that's relatively expensive. If I had it, I would go to an Upgrade Labs to do cryotherapy because it takes less time than a cold plunge. I usually do an Instagram Live for my cold plunge. And I've almost dropped the camera twice. And if you're doing an Instagram Live naked, just don't drop your phone because that could be a problem.
Cheers for that one. Oh my God. Okay, and then you continue in your day.
I come in, I have a cup of coffee, and yes, I do my coffee with minerals.
You're still naked at this point. You've just done the whole morning.
Why would I get dressed? I live by myself. Like
you're just fucking naked for half your day.
Yeah, totally. There's a Zoom call, just put on a shirt. No, I do wear pants on Zoom. But
just pants, by the way.
Yeah, just pants, I flex. I'll take my supplements that belong on an empty stomach. Then sometimes I'm intermittent fasting. I'll wait a couple hours to have breakfast, or I'll have breakfast. I don't intermittent fast every day. My breakfast is protein and fat.
So a meat with a ghee.
There you go. Steak, maybe half an avocado or something.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm developing a new kind of protein powder that's all animal based. Mm-hmm. And I need to get enough protein in. If you want to look good and live a long time, you need 0.8 grams of animal protein per pound of body weight, up to 1 gram. So for me, I weigh 200 pounds, and that means I need 200 grams of protein, and that is at least 2 pounds of steak. It's hard to do that on a daily basis. So what I'll do is I'll have usually a smoothie, or I'll have a piece of steak, or some ground meat, whatever. And then I'm happy. I put a ton of herbs on it. Plants are mostly bad for you, but some plants are good for you. And people say, but you need to get your polyphenols from plants. use a whole bunch of rosemary and oregano and thyme, and you'll get
Out the
yeah,
herb thing.
yeah, you'll get hundreds of times more polyphenols than your stupid kale. Kale is bad for you.
I always hear about kale being
Yeah.
bad and oats. Like, there's always a debate between eggs. What about eggs?
There's no debate about kale and spinach. They're just bad for you. The people who just like them say, but I like them. Like heroin addicts say they like heroin too. Doesn't mean it's good for you. I don't
Yeah.
care if you like kale. You don't like kale. You like the maple syrup and bacon you put on the kale. So let's just, kale's bad because it causes crystals of calcium to form inside your
So
body.
what greens do you eat?
Arugula.
Just arugula and avocado.
No, and I'll eat like broccoli and cauliflower and things like that. But it turns out spinach and kale and beets are particularly bad for you. So I avoid
Do you
those.
eat lentils or any legumes?
No.
So that's just a no-go.
Those are like poverty level survival foods. They're not good for you.
Rice?
Yeah, white rice, not brown. Brown rice is bad for you.
God, it's like the complete opposite of everything that we learn.
That's because some guy in the 70s was like, because fiber.
Yeah.
Brown rice has a whole bunch of lectins, it shreds your gut, and it's got 80 times more arsenic than white rice. That's why every rice eating culture on the planet peels their rice unless you're too poor to peel your rice. So the fact that some kind of self-loathing long-distance runner in the 70s told you to eat a whole bunch of fiber and whole foods, whatever that means, it doesn't work. That's what made me fat. I was also a raw vegan, by the way. Like I was a devout vegan.
You've done the whole thing.
Yeah, well,
It
it gave me worse arthritis. It gave me more autoimmunity. It gave me terrible joint pain. I broke teeth. 80% of people go vegan quit because it makes them sick, and it can take years to recover.
Whoa.
So don't do that. It
Okay,
doesn't work.
So interesting. Oh my gosh, I could talk to you for hours. We're gonna need a round two.
I'm all over it.
This is so addictive, and there's so many questions I want to ask you. Well, look, if you have enjoyed this show as much as I have, guys, make sure that you share it with a friend. Take it, get your favorite bit, just grab it. Take a photo screenshot or I don't know, screenshot of listening to this if you're listening to it. Put it on your Instagram and tag Dave Asprey and Natasha Graziano. You guys can see the tags at the bottom. You can also see the tag to everything we've spoken about, all these clinics and things we've spoken about. The links are below. Make sure you grab it.
Also, go to ownandupgradelabs.com. You can open your own biohacking franchise with all the science in your own neighborhood. This is to make people into their own entrepreneurs to start biohacking globally.
Whoa, that's the coolest thing ever. I might even look at one myself. I'm obsessed with this. Open it in my backyard.
Nice.
I love it. Thank you so much for everyone tuning in. Thank you for coming. It's been a pleasure.